Shopify's COO. Harley, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Clearly very, very strong numbers this morning, and the share price reflects that today and of late. To what extent is that a long-term structural shift that you've been enjoying over the last couple of years as compared to a quarterly effect because of COVID?
Well, look, our mission from day one has always been to help small businesses and to level the playing field. And frankly, it feels like now small business entrepreneurs need that more than ever. And so this is a story, I think, of great independent small business entrepreneurs finally being able to connect with consumers, finally be able to have the technology they need to compete with the biggest companies in the world. And so it feels like the year 2030, in terms of what retail would have looked like then, has been pulled back in the year 2020. And the success of Shopify is really the success of independent businesses all over the world. And I think we're starting to see that small businesses will be the driving force and will be the ones that will be rebuilding our economy after the pandemic. But in terms of how it's going to continue, we went from about 5% of total retail sales being e-commerce 10 years ago to close to 15% in the last couple of years. Now we're close to 30%. So I think some of these new trends, the fact that this digitalization is happening, that will stick around.
And within that, your data saying this morning of U.S. online retail sales that you are 6%, Amazon 37%. Where would you like that number to be in 5 years' time?
Well, the most important part of that, I think, is that if you were to pretend for a moment that Shopify is a single retailer, we're not a retailer, but if you were to pretend that we would be the second largest online retailer in America. And what we get with that is massive economies of scale, whether it's things like payments or capital or shipping, all these things that we now get leverage with, we can distribute those economies of scale and further level that playing field. So there isn't a percentage necessarily we're trying to achieve in terms of total retail. But what we are seeing, though, is consumers are now voting with their wallets to support independent brands and retailers. And that is why I think we've seen so much great success of incredible small businesses in the last couple of months.
Today, Harley, that the magnitude and duration of the future impact remain uncertain, and of course the likelihood of a deeper recession, and didn't give guidance. Well, why don't you feel confident in some of these trends continuing?
Well, there's no way to predict exactly what's going to happen. There was no way we could have seen e-commerce grow from 15% of retail to 30% in the last, 3 or 4 months or so. What we are trying to do is make sure that any small business that wants to compete, that wants to enter and actually be resilient, has the tools to do so. And I think a lot of people for a long time just assumed Shopify was an e-commerce platform for small businesses. What we're now seeing is companies like Chipotle and Snickers and Molson Coors are also beginning to act entrepreneurial and using our technology. But as a product, we're going well beyond just e-commerce. We're now helping people sell in physical stores as well, helping them with capital. We've given out more than $1.2 billion of capital to small businesses. These are things they couldn't have done on their own. And so really, we are the entrepreneurship company, and I think that's beginning to be understood.
Harley, I guess this is a great problem to have, but do you regret in any way how you've priced the product? A flat fee for most customers. As they cross a certain mark, you start to take a percentage of their sales, but that percentage is limited by a maximum dollar amount per month. I believe I'm right in all of those points. Do you wish you had more of a share in the sales as some of these companies grow and grow fast, as opposed to there being those arbitrary dollar limits?
Well, to be clear, we make it really easy to get started. If you want to start a business on Shopify, it's $29. But as you grow to become one of the leaders in your category, whether it's an Allbirds or it's a Fashion Nova type company or it's a Bombas or any companies that have grown to be category leaders, we do share in their upside and we do share in that in their GMV, which is why I think you've seen GMV grow almost 120% year over year, as we announced this morning.
Do you think, Harley, Amazon is anti-competitive to the topic of the hearing we've been watching all day today? And how big of a competitor are they to you?
Yeah, we don't compete with Amazon. Our merchants do compete with Amazon, but we think for the future of commerce to not only survive but thrive, it needs to be in the hands of the many, not the few. And so we like a future of retail that looks like many, many, many small businesses, not single hegemonic companies.
When we consider the themes of 2020, particularly because of COVID, do you think you've seen such fast growth because just typical shoppers have gone online, or because you've also seen people who may be forced into a situation have decided to start a new business altogether in a way that if they'd stayed in the safety of their old job or whatever, they may never have taken that risk?
Certainly, entrepreneurship is on the rise. As I mentioned earlier, I think that the entrepreneurs and small businesses will be one of the catalyzing factors to get the economy back on track. But that being said, I think there has been increased demand from consumers, and consumer preferences have changed. They do want to buy direct from the brands. We've seen that. Direct to consumer as sort of a trend has been around for a while, but it should have been steady state. The issue was a lot of independent brands didn't have the tools, the technology, the access to sell direct to the end consumer. Now they can. But then you also have those brick and mortar businesses, which is a big part of Shopify's business and our product offering, who were going to digitalize. But what the pandemic did was it forced that digitalization to happen right now. And we were there with great software and great technology to make that really easy for them.
You've got a fan. Jim Cramer has liked the stock, and he also is a fan of yours, writing into the show, Harley. Just investors always love the TAM, total addressable market. It's a very sexy term. How do you think about what that is for you in terms of how big this could get?
Look, we started 15 years ago just helping very small companies set up beautiful, scalable online stores. And now we really are becoming the world's first retail operating system. We've seen small businesses that started at their mom's kitchen table, again, going back to those Gymsharks of the world, who've become category leaders. But we've also, with Shopify Plus, began to see some of the largest brands on the planet, Procter & Gamble, Unilever brands, also setting up shop on Shopify. And so we really do believe our TAM is a lot bigger than anyone really expected. And fundamentally, as retail shifts more and more online, we seem to be the best place. We are the best place and best technology for it. But we think that businesses simply, they need something that's nimble. They need something that's quick to access. They want to access the ability to sell on social media, or they want to be able to have things like accelerated checkout. That all comes standard in Shopify, and so we really do make it easy for them.
Do you think on the payment side you're going to be able to cut out traditional players in the future as well?
I'm not sure. We have a fairly large payments business with Shopify Payments and now more Shop Pay as well. We're introducing things like installments as well. We are trying to figure out what can we do and how can we anticipate what retailers and brands will need in the future and make sure that's baked into our product. In terms of alternative payment methods, it also depends on the geography. We see some of our international countries, they prefer alternative payment methods or debit cards, for example. But the idea is when you come to Shopify, you should have access to all the tools you need to have a successful business, whatever those tools might be.
And Harley, just quickly, final question. You mentioned international. I mean, how penetrated are you outside of the US? Is that a big opportunity for you still?
It is, absolutely. Historically, Shopify's admin and where you run the business, that retail operating system, has been English only. And about 2 years ago, we began to translate it, to integrate with new partners in those local geographies to make sure we have the right tools for them. But international remains a really big part of our future.
Harley, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.